the actual recording is a bit, it's a fraction behind, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay.
Do you think it's the right link? There's nobody else logged on. Yeah, because we've got a time limit to be done by 1 o'clock.
And we've got two 45-minute sessions to video. Okay. So you're up first, then, Rich? So it's recording and live at the same time? Okay. Slow down a bit, Chef.
This is Good morning, my name is Richard Duckworth. I'm the head chef at Hilton Swindon, and this is my colleague here.
Good
Darren.
morning. Good morning, Richard. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I'm very well this morning. As Richard said, my name's Darren Williams. I am the head chef for Hilton at Tewkesbury, Puckerapall, where I've been for about 2.5 years now. So Richard, would you like to introduce yourself and sort of your background and a bit about Swindon as a whole?
Yeah, well, I've been at Swindon now for 4 years, and where Darren works in a hotel where he's predominantly leisure, ours deals with a lot of corporate and a lot of leisure at the weekends, but we've got 170 odd bedrooms, and it's a very, very busy environment. But what we want to do today, we want to talk to you regarding health and safety, talking about seasonality, talking a little bit about HACCP, how we operate in Hilton, how we manage youngsters coming into the trade, because that is a very, very important thing for us today. Encouraging youngsters into the trade, guiding them in the right way. So back to you, Darren.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. As Richard said, the hotel which I work at is predominantly leisure-based. We have 112 bedrooms. Of that, we are always very busy, very similar to Swindon. But included in that, we have a 18-hole championship golf course, extensive leisure facilities, spa complex. So the clientele is very different across the two hotels. And what we tend to see is that even it's the same group and the hotels are situated relatively near to each other, the contrast is huge. And that makes our day jobs slightly different, but ultimately still working in the same group with the same guidelines and working towards the same goals. So, Richard, I'm going to pass back to you now to talk about sort of your past a little bit, just to introduce what you've done to where you are today.
Okay, yes, Darren, I started off as a 15-year-old in London quite a long time ago now, but I've had a great journey working through many different countries, many different types of cuisine as well.
Yeah.
And working in a country house hotel, working in a leisure resort, working in a city, it's given me a great, great variety of experience.
Good.
And it's now my duty now to pass my experience back to these youngsters, and I enjoy doing the training, and I love to see this development happening. Yeah. And there's only one way to do it, and it's to do it the right way, the correct way. Starting from the bottom, showing them the rudiments of the correct way of using equipment, learning about health and safety, and teaching them step by step. And if they've got that first step on board, the passion starts to come, developing their food, their dishes, and they can become very, very, very good chefs.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, Richard. I don't think there's anything wrong with when you have a new member of staff, and specifically a young member of staff coming into our kitchens. They need to be taught the manner in which is going to stay with them for the rest of their career. That if they are taught in the wrong manner to begin with, they're never going to learn a correct process. They're never going to learn that, as you put it, the rudimentals, the fundamentals of our job. So, I mean, I first started out at the age of 14 years old.
Even younger than me.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I am still younger than you now. Even to the point where, I suppose, like all chefs, I started washing dishes. And that taught me, one, the respect the kitchen still has and still is very apparent within the industry, but then also those skills. I started off in a small city centre restaurant, and from there, across the last 20 years, I have worked at very big 700-bedroom hotels in the middle of London. I've worked at huge golf resorts that have 3 golf courses and 300 bedrooms. I spent a number of years working with product development, specialising in sous vide manufacturing, so cooking under vacuum and a very different approach to food. All of this has been possible, if you will, because I was taught the basics earlier on. I was given that time, I was shown the correct manner in which that I've been able to build on my career to the point where I am now, and still there's going to be a lot more to come after that. So, Richard, back to you. Richard's now just going to... Oh, sorry, Richard, carry on.
No, I was just going to say, I truly believe in what you're saying there, that the fact is it's keeping the interest in the individuals. Why did we both start off very, very young and not just go off into a different industry? Because there's always something different happening in the kitchen. We never stop learning, never, never.
Totally.
And there's new things coming on board all the time. We want to be innovative, and we want to be clever, and we want to satisfy those customers. So we cannot stand still. So as much development needs to be happening all the time. We cannot sit back without development. Totally. And this is one thing that at least we've both found with Hilton. They've given us the reason, and they've given us the tools to move forward and to really develop these youngsters. And it's our duty to back that up and to really see some bright young prospects for the future.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true. I mean, obviously now with Hilton, we're doing a lot of work with apprenticeships and bringing that next level of chef, someone that's interested in the industry, that wants to be part of what we do. And if we can show our passion, show the love we have for food and the creative side we have to them, there's no reason why they can't go on to be the next us, if you will.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
We're going to talk through, as Richard was saying, a few little areas today, the health and safety and other bits and bobs. And then we're going to show you some core skills, some equipment, some different cuts, things that we learned as a youngster when we first started. Richard obviously started a few years before I did, but that's everything with life. So Richard, I'm going to let you introduce the sort of format for today.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there.
As I say, we're going to go through a little bit about health and safety. We're looking about seasonality. We're talking about our HACCP, which is our control system, which we take very, very, very seriously.
Yes, I mean, HACCP, as you're saying there, is a very serious topic. It's not just about food, it's also about the legalities and also the safety of food. We have a responsibility to our guests and our staff and ourselves, if you will, to make sure that we do everything in the correct manner, so we're not exposing ourselves and specifically exposing Hilton. So that's why they're so important, these topics we're going to discuss today.
And another little thing I like to talk about today is terminology. Now, you hear a lot of buzzwords in the kitchen, and certain things you hear chefs on TV saying, do you really understand what they mean? So we've got a question and answer system here where please throw the questions to us and we'd like to answer these questions. But it covers everything we're trying to do today. And the idea is that we're going to give you a little basic on vegetable preparation today and a couple of little techniques which we will then tomorrow show you 2 finished dishes. And then we can offer you the recipes for these and again questions and answers. So first of all, I'm just going to go through this health and safety because it's an absolute necessity.
Yeah, I mean, by all means. I mean,
we have so many things that we have to be careful of. And in a kitchen, everything has a potential for being a health and safety issue. So we talk about clean working surfaces. We talk about working with different colour boards. Why do we work with different colour boards? Simply because we want to avoid this cross-contamination. Now, with the actual board that I've got today, this orangey brown colour here, we tend to use this just for veg prep alone. We have a red board for meat, we have a yellow board for salad, we have a green board for also cooked meats. Well, we use the yellow board for cooked meats, the green for salads.
Yep, that's it.
Get that one round. You should have corrected me before that.
Sorry,
Darren.
I was waving to come back in there.
And it's important that we use those. But also, with health and safety, it's about taking temperatures. Now, every kitchen is provided with probes. We take the temperatures of all cooked products. We record them on a daily basis. We log them, and they're kept in file. So this is not a random thing. This is done religiously every day.
Totally, with every product that we cook.
And that's where we take temperatures of all our fridges, first thing in the morning, during the afternoon, and in late at night, that we keep in constant check that our food products are kept at the correct temperatures. So, along with that, we use what we call a date gun. When we prepare any food, we wrap it up and we put a date stamp on it. Like you see on any product in the supermarket, we know the expiry date. And we have a very, very strict ruling about how long we can keep an item of food. So, along with that, we have various charts we use. When we blast chill a product, and when I say blast chill, we take something from extreme heat, we rest it for a little bit, and then we put it into a fridge that blast chills it down to a core temperature very, very, very quickly. We must record the temperature it went in and the temperature it came out in under an hour to then go into a refrigerator. The reason we do this, when we have things like stocks that may be sitting around, especially if they're a meat stock, etc., that we just don't leave them in an ambient area where they will just pick up bacteria. They have to be chilled very, very fast and then refrigerated.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's all ties nice into what I'm going to talk to you in a minute about, which is a topic called HACCP. But as Richard was saying there, the basis around health and safety is one of the biggest drivers of how and what we can create, and also how we create it. We can't put ourselves and Hilton in a position that could be dangerous, could be potentially a no-go area, if you will. So that's why we have these stringent policies. That's why we follow them. That's why they're there. So the date coding, the temperature recording, the monitoring of the fridge temperatures.
And one other thing, Darren, once a month, what do we do every month?
Every month, we have to do what's called food sampling, which entails whenever we do a large function, 20 people plus, if you will, we take products that we've cooked of high risk, and when we say high risk, it means a protein element, the main course, the meat, the fish. If it's a dairy or a pasta, these items that have the potential, we take one sample, we keep it, we freeze it, and then we send it off to laboratory testing just to make sure that what we're doing is of an acceptable standard, that we've done all our jobs properly. And that just reiterates Hilton's specifically determination to health and safety, to always be above the law, to make sure they don't expose themselves and expose us as well as individuals.
And we get a certificate back to give us the correct reading.
Yep, totally.
And if it's incorrect, action has to be taken.
Yep, and then it could be retraining with our staff, it could be looking at our process, and also looking at why was the product not done properly. Then we go back to our records that we would have already kept. So I want to talk to you about HACCP now, if that's okay for a moment.
That's fine.
So if you just bear me one sec. So along with health and safety, HACCP is a massive part of our job. And when I say HACCP, we were talking about terminologies. And what it means is it's an abbreviation for hazard analysis and then critical control points, which basically means that we're going to look at all areas of our food delivery to our cooking and our presentation, and where we might potentially see a hazard, how we identify that, and then how we control it. So that can be, the hazard can be in the purchasing. The hazard could be in the delivery. The hazard then could be in our storage if we don't store correctly. As Richard said a few moments ago about checking our fridge temperatures, making sure that they are adequate, making sure that they're within a guideline to allow the food to be held. Then also the cooking, again coming back to the point that you made earlier, Richard, about the cooking temperatures, the recording. These are all parts of that HACCP policy. And this is the advantage of working for a very large group like Hilton, that this work is done for us. So as a head chef, we don't have the headache, if you will, of having to put together these HACCPs. We're given the material, we're given the support, and then we just follow them. We're trained in the same manner that we will train our staff, just to show that everything we do is of a equal standard. I mean, I'm going to lift this, as you can see. For a chef, that's just one file we have to do based around HACCP. So I'm not going to go into huge detail, but there are things like the control of allergies as well is another hazard. We might have cooked everything perfectly well, but if someone's allergic to something, as we see a lot more recently, don't we, Richard?
Exactly.
There are a lot more allergies. We have to then take into account that. We have to make sure that what we're cooking, we're specifying. Does it contain nuts? Does it contain gluten? Does it contain things like mustards and celery and sodiums and all these things that people become allergic to? We have to do that. We do training with our staff on HACCP. We cover off all of our legalities, if you will, to make sure that as a company we're safe. So, so I think that covers health and safety in HACCP quite a lot. I'd like, if I can now, Richard, just to talk about a couple of little small bits of equipment that we're going to go through today.
Yeah,
so I'm
let's
just
go
going
through
to check
that.
this out of the way. So as you can see here on this table, we've got a number of pieces of equipment. We're going to use these today and tomorrow with the small preparation we're going to do today, and then also the products that we're going to make and finish tomorrow. So I'm going to start off at this far end with some knives. We've got a little selection of knives here. I'm not going to bore you too much with what they are. So as you can see, we have what we call a carving knife. So obviously we use this for carving meats and breads and cheeses. It's a sharp, slightly serrated knife. It's not really used for a great deal else other than that. We have kind of a universal cook's knife. These come in many shapes and sizes. This is a nice, easy one to handle, specifically for our junior members of staff.
Definitely.
It's not a 12-inch cook's knife that's all of a sudden going to be far too heavy for them to handle.
I think, sorry, Darren, one of the things we did talk about earlier between us, that it's so important that for young chefs to buy their knives as they need them, but stick with them, work with them. Don't go using other people's knives unless it's really necessary. Yeah. It's important they get used to the handle. We can't give you a brand which is the best. It's all up to the individual, how they feel, how it handles the weight, etc., etc. But it's important that you stick with your knife so you have less accidents.
Totally. And also with that, the sharpening of your knives. One of the pieces of equipment that we use a lot, and you'll see everyone use it. And again, it's one of those sort of terminology words. It's a steel. And what it is just a tool for sharpening your knives. So serrated knives, no, we won't do that. But the flatter bladed knives we will do. And it's a simple process. And it's a rhythm that you will learn as you're going on. And as you become more accustomed to the way your knife feels, the way it handles, you become much more relaxed with it. Even after 20 years, we still cut ourselves. We still get things wrong. Point in case. Look, there we go. So, another little one here is a little paring knife. Again, comes in very different shapes and sizes. And then one other I just want to show them. This is a kind of a specialist knife, if you will. It's called a turning knife, and we use this for making turned vegetables. And some of those are called chateau. There's a name for it. It's a large barrel potato. An olivetti. These are terms that we use in our kitchen every day for the different size and shape of turning. And it's a process that we will teach our staff. Okay. So that's sort of the knives we use. There's a couple of little bits I want to go through, Richard. We've got what's called a pastry scraper, and this we're going to use alongside what we class as a drum sieve. It's called a drum because it looks like a drum, as you can see. It's just like a normal drum. And we're going to use this tomorrow specifically for passing, again another one of those words we're going to talk about later, which basically means we're going to sieve and mousse through it. And we're going to push it through with our pastry scraper. And the process is just going to look like this, and that's all we're going to do. We've got a number of size bowls, some larger, some smaller. We have what's called a conical strainer. Some people use this, just call it a sieve. It's slightly different than a sieve because it's a bigger hole. And we use this again tomorrow. We're going to make a soup, which we're going to use to pass our soup. Again, passing just means straining. Putting it through here, taking out the pulp, keeping the nice liquid.
But I think whilst you're talking about this, I think I'm going to move into using some of the terminology.
Wonderful, yeah, no problem at all.
Darren, simply because we've also, apart from the conical strainer, we've heard of a chinois. A chinois is a very fine strainer, and that's for passing through even finer.
Yeah, it's a fine mesh.
It gives you an absolute beautiful, pure result.
That's it. It's taking out even more of those small particles.
But chinois is not a common word used in the day-to-day language of everyone, but
it's one of the things we use every day.
And other terminology we use straight away in the kitchen, we use a word called mise en place. Mise en place means preparation. It means the work to be done. What mise en place do we have to do today is a term used in virtually every kitchen.
Yep.
And it's just simply the work we have.
It's our preparation. It's to put it in its place.
Yeah.
So the equipment laid out here is our mise en place.
Yeah.
To go through it, to show them.
And another little thing called, we say we're going to put a little bit of jus on a plate. What is a jus? It's not a pesto gravy. No, it is a reduced stock. a stock that has gone down then by half. It's had alcohol or something else added to it, and it takes it down to what we call almost a glaze. But that's what we call as jus, which then we can do a nice, neat little bit of saucing around the plate. Little terms which do help, you know.
That's it.
And there's lots of equipment as we move along. We're talking about thermomixes today, and we're talking about the water baths and etc. that people, which we never had when we started.
No, that comes back to, as I say, with the my time in product development, Richard, that a water bath was something I used every day. A vacuum pack machine was something I used every day.
And what we actually said in the beginning, we are still learning ourselves. So it never stops.
No, that's it. So last couple of pieces of equipment I want to go through is we have what's called a stick blender. It's called a stick blender because of the shape of it. We're going to use this tomorrow specifically just to blend our soup. Very sharp blade on the bottom. It's protected by a cover to not cut your hands. And again, with any piece of equipment, specifically electrical, we will train our staff. We will show them the correct manner in which to use it. And that way then we don't have the accidents. We reduce that risk all the time.
And anything electrical in the kitchen cannot be used by a member of staff unless it signed a trained form to cover themselves, to cover ourselves as well, but us to be assured that they've gone to pick up a piece of equipment. We know they understand the operation of it.
Totally, and that's it. It's
because
about
the kitchen can be a very, very dangerous place.
We know that. We know that.
Without taking due care and attention.
Yeah, it's not a playground, and it's somewhere we have to be respectful of the equipment that we use and also of each other using that equipment. So, and the last bit, Richard, I just want to quickly talk about. This one's a slightly larger piece of equipment.
What's that, Darren?
This is called a robo-coop chef. Another one of those terms. It's a term of respect within the kitchen. That when you are a head chef, you get awarded that title. And it's a natural instinct for you to call the head chef, chef. So a robo-coop is, on all intents purposes, an electric blender. Most households will have a machine of this sort of caliber. This is just a much more powerful, stronger motor, and we use this for making mousses, for many, many other things.
What other things could you use it for, Darren?
We use it to make breadcrumbs. We use it if we're making pasta. We also use it for making, what else would you use in there? Chopping nuts if we're going to do a nut crumble or a nut roast, or nuts in our cheesecake bases, that sort of thing. And
so you can make a mousse in that?
We can make a mousse in this, and we're going to do that tomorrow. So we're going to make a chicken mousse in this tomorrow.
So it's a very versatile piece of equipment. But can I just point out one thing about how dangerous this piece of equipment is?
Oh yeah, please do.
Well, you show them what's inside there.
As you can see, you won't be able to see totally, and I'm going to take this apart now for you to go have a quick look at. All of these equipments, Richard, as you know, come with safety guards. Without the lid attached, the machine won't work. As you can see in here, we have a double-edged blade. So I'm just going to get that so you can see on the camera. On there, these are razor sharp. If that caught your fingers, you wouldn't have fingers. So, and again, even the bowl has a locking mechanism. If it doesn't sit properly, it won't work. Again, back to that training. If you're not trained and you haven't been shown how to use it properly, we would never give it you to use.
Thanks, Darren.
So, okay, so that's that section on that, and I believe Richard wants to talk to you a little bit about seasonality.
Seasonality. Now, we talk about seasonality. There's plenty of exposure on TV regarding we should be using this, then this now, this a little bit later. What do we mean by that, Darren?
Well, I mean, it's a contentious thing nowadays with a lot of things that we hear about is food miles, seasonality, when things are at its best. And for us and myself, and I know you as well, Richard, it's about when a product is at its best, when it's in its most abundance. And that way then it's a case of...
There's two things normally. Yeah. Often it happens that obviously it's its freshest, it's best to use, and often it's can be at the best price as well.
Very much so.
And that's where we come into play with looking after the purse strings of our kitchen.
Yep. That's it we haven't covered as well, isn't it, as part of our job?
But that's something that we could talk about for a long, long time.
A very long time, yes.
But we're moving on from that. And even just from here, picked this morning, these are just herbs from our little herb garden at our hotel.
Yep.
We've got some parsley, we've got some rosemary, we've got some thyme, we've got some marjoram, which we'll be going to go through in a minute, what we're going to do with that.
Wonderful. I mean, quite robust herbs then.
Very robust, yeah. Good. And they can be used for many dishes, yeah. With seasonality though, when we talk about other products, especially in England, asparagus season, are getting better. We're getting better at using these products, but we should be pushing. We should be proud of the ingredients we are growing in this country.
Very much so.
Instead of importing so many other items, we feel are superior.
Yeah, I mean, that comes back to that whole food miles argument, doesn't it, again, is with Hilton, and I think you will agree with this, that we want to be a very sustainable company. We want to be at the forefront of sustainability. So that includes where we buy our products from,
Yeah.
how we source them. So,
And one other thing that we get on a weekly and a monthly basis, we get productivity charts coming through telling us what's available, what is good price, what we should be buying. This can be for meat, the poultry, for fish, and for produce.
yeah,
And we're getting these, so we're reminded all the time. If we're not thinking ourselves, we are getting these reminders.
Yeah.
We should be using these products.
Yeah, I can
for the very
guarantee-
right reason. What is in abundance? What has been affected through various weathers?
yeah.
And how we should be watching the news for,
But it's
for that reason. Yeah.
It's like a double-edged sword. It affects, one, the quality, and also it affects the price. I can guarantee them, both myself and you have had an email this morning saying what fish is in the market today,
Exactly.
what specials they've got.
And we know we even know what boat it's come from.
And exactly, we know
Yeah.
where it's come from, and we can track and see where it came from, how it was caught, and how sustainable that product is. So,
And it's like with the rest of our products, it should be a traceability about all of our products that we buy.
yeah, that's
So
it.
Hilton have got a very, very good sound system with giving us the right ingredients.
Yeah, that's it.
And they've been well sourced and looked at from a very good angle.
Yeah, I mean, that brings us on to sort of the next topic a little bit, talking about Hilton as the company and the way that we buy and source our products. Being a very massive global company, we have the advantage that as a chef, you don't need to go out and chase all your suppliers. You don't need to go out and vet every supplier and work on their prices. This is done for us. We are given every year, every 6 months, we will then renegotiate our contracts, and this is done at a more senior level.
Yeah.
And that allows us the time then to turn around and say, okay, we can create with that product. We can think about what we're going to do with that. And we can do the job that we all love to do, rather than
Exactly.
having to spend hours trying to chase down prices, trying to chase down things like this. And the big advantages are you get a much better price, you get a consistent product, and also it's easily obtainable. You're not dealing with small suppliers constantly. You're not dealing with the issues of, oh, I've not got that today, that wasn't at the market today. You can know, with Hilton, you know when you write a menu, you can buy those products every day, and you're going to get the same quality every day. So your guests within the hotel, they're going to get the same products, and they're going to walk away going, you know what, that burger we buy there is fantastic. That Hilton burger, best I've ever had. Because it was the same at Swindon, it was the same at Tewkesbury.
And the same in Prague.
And the same in Prague, exactly. So, and that, I mean, that also ties nicely with that seasonality thing. Hilton will always look and give us the options. We're coming into the strawberry season. I'm sure you've started to see the British strawberries coming through.
Exactly.
Prices come down, quality's gone up.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they're a joy to have again, rather than being the imported ones that we know have come a long way.
And we're currently designing a dish for the World Cup as well, which we're keeping to ourselves at the moment.
Do tell, chef, do tell. No, you're not going to
yeah,
share?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We might have to steal that one later. We'll talk to him.
Okay. So what we're going to do before we sign off for today, we're just going to show you a few little bits of veg prep, which tomorrow we're going to follow by using these items in our two dishes. The dish I'm going to show you tomorrow is a leek and potato soup.
Wonderful, my favourite.
Yep.
Wonderful.
And we're going to show it as just a leek and potato soup, and we're going to show it with a little bit of garnish as well, just to show you how we can enhance a dish and give it that extra presentation. What are you going to be doing, Darren?
And tomorrow morning, what I'm going to make is I'm going to make a chicken roulade, chef.
Yep.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a chicken mousse with blended chicken using our roba that we were talking about earlier.
Lovely.
And in that, it's going to go some egg whites, a little touch of cream, and then we're going to take that chicken mousse and we're going to, again,
We're going to use this.
We are going to use that.
Fantastic.
So we're going to take it off. We're going to pass it. Again, that word of passing. So we're going to press it through, which what it will do is it will take out all of the nasty, stringy, and really the pulp of that chicken breast, and just leave a really nice smooth mousse. And then we're going to enhance all those flavours using some really nice fresh herbs, some basil.
Is that time consuming?
It is time consuming, but the benefit of the product at the end outweighs the time limits.
That's what I was going to answer.
Yep, and that's it.
For you, the fact is that you cannot beat something made fresh.
No, totally not.
And it's the joy of seeing that product.
Yeah, and it's that training, that showing. And yes, for us, making chicken roulade can take 5 minutes. that process of the training can take half an hour.
And longer.
Yeah, and longer. It's all about making sure that when we leave, the new member of staff or apprentice, whoever it might be with the training, walks away knowing that today they learned something new. So we're going to enhance that mousse with some what we call sunblush tomatoes, which are like a semi-dried oiled tomato to give it real nice sweetness. Some basil.
There's lots of different names of tomatoes at the moment. There's sun-kissed, there's sun-dried, sun-blushed.
Yeah, it's the sun loves everything, I think.
I think so, yeah.
So as Richard said, and then we're going to do some basic prep today. Again, that's going to tie nicely into tomorrow. So I believe we've had a question, Richard.
We've got a question.
I think we've got a question to answer. Let's have a little look. So, okay. Not so much of a question, just a statement. Thank you very much, Hannah. So, it's nice to see, though.
And while you're talking about tying things up,
Yep.
I would like you to tie up for me another thing in the kitchen, which is called a bouquet garni. What is that in English?
Basically, a bouquet garni is a little pouch made for herbs and vegetables that's going to really enhance the flavour of our stocks when we make them. And we're going to use something called muslin cloth. This is a little lemon wrap. And what it does is it's a very fine mesh without being a washed material, if you will. And it's going to allow all the flavour to come out without the hard bits of the herb going into our stock. And also the colouring of our stock. What we want is we want the flavour without the nasty byproducts.
Okay.
So what we're going to do is Richard's going to prep me a little bit of herbs. As he said earlier on, these have been picked fresh this morning from Swindon.
And we've got a little bit of thyme, marjoram, a little bit of rosemary. And how are we going to tie this, Chef?
We're going to use some string. So we're going to use some little buttery string. So we're going to jump in there, Chef. And all we're going to do, we're going to wrap the top up. We're going to pull our edges in nice and tight because again, we want the flavour. So what we've created there, as you can see, is it's almost like a little tea bag, if you will. So we all know how that works. It's the same principle. We're going to wrap our string around a couple of times so it's nice and tight. Oh, I can smell this. That rosemary, that marjoram is beautiful.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the reasons we drop this into our stock is because when we feel that stock is strong enough, we can take it out. If we throw these herbs in loose, then we don't have a chance.
Yep, we're going to have to sit there fishing it out.
What we want to do is to really dangle it in like a little fishing line.
Yeah. It's like your tea bag, isn't it?
And just infuse some herb, some flavour in there without it being overkill. At the end of the day, we want a vegetable stock. We don't want a herb stock.
Yeah.
Okay?
So that's nicely tied.
Lovely.
What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to trim that off. I'm going to use the right job for the right knife. Again, I'm not going to use my huge carving knife to cut the string because I might hurt myself. There we go, Chef.
Thank you
okay for you?
Thank you.
So I'm just going to get rid of the rubbish. We don't have stuff lying around on our sections. Again, another one of those little words there, Chef, that we kind of don't realise, a section. What is a section? Do you want to tell everybody?
A section in the kitchen could be, depending on the size of the kitchen, could be just one section that does all. Or in a conventional kitchen, we would have various stations. We would have the sauce, we'd have the fish.
So, and the sauce does?
It does the sauces, it does the meat prep, it does possibly the fish section if it doesn't have a fish section. But we, depending on the size of the property, and like yourself, I've worked in very, very large kitchens where we've had, you know, plenty, 8 or 9 different sections in the kitchen because we had that size operation. But in a smaller place, often you're going to have a little larder, you're going to have hopefully a pastry side.
Yeah. So the larder covers off 90% of the time. They will do starters, and then within Hilton's, I know within my kitchen they do, and I believe with Richard's is the same, that the larder chef will take care of our bar menus and things like that, the sort of lighter meals, if you will. Richard spoke there about the pastry section. Pastry, as we could all imagine, is to do desserts. They're there, and I know you have a pastry chef, I have a pastry chef, and we create all of our products in-house for our restaurant menus. That way it gives us greater diversity of what we can do.
When it gives us greater diversity, it gives us satisfaction that the majority of it is made in-house.
Yep.
It's homemade. Customers can see it's homemade.
Yep. And
the fact also is it makes the whole kitchen more versatile as well. It's another section for all the youngsters to pick up on, learn.
Yeah. It's more training, isn't it?
It's more training.
It gives everyone that greater band of experience rather than it just being we buy our pastries in. Because there are many companies out there nowadays that you can buy reasonably good quality, and in some cases very good quality products.
Just while you're talking there, Darren, what I'm doing, I'm just preparing a bit of carrot, a bit of leek, and celery.
Yep.
And I'm going to add that to my stock.
Okay, wonderful. Right.
That's going to be for tomorrow, okay?
No problem at all.
So
so I just want to interject there, Richard. As you can see, Richard's here. He's got a little bowl on his table. He's using that to put his waste in. Hilton doesn't waste products. What we do is we are very good at recycling.
So where do you think all my waste goes in, Darren?
I would say your leeks and your carrots will end up in your stock. The potato peelings would go into the bin, but they will go into the food waste bins.
We have a separate food waste bin that is taken away on twice a week,
yep.
once a week, depending on how it fills up, and that is recycled.
Yep, and that's it. And then we also recycle, and I think you're the same.
Everything else
recycle our dry good waste, so all our plastics, our papers, our glass, so that's again recycled. And we only generate probably 10% actual waste, if you will, now, I think.
Yeah. So I'm just gently cutting these up into what we call, it's a rough mirepoix. Mirepoix being a rough cut, which is suitable for a stock or a stew or sauce.
And why would you make it rough? Why would you not make it a very fine dice or a very uniform cut?
It's not necessary to cut it that fine.
Yeah.
You're still going to get enough, and you're wasting your time doing something extra fine. Yeah.
So we were talking earlier on about passing the mousse and it being time consuming, but necessary. The mirepoix, as Richard said there, doesn't have to be exceptionally time consuming. It can be a very quick process. All these vegetables have been pre-washed. We make sure that we wash them, we prepare them.
And that's what Darren's going to do in a moment.
Yep.
But he's just going to wash this stuff off for me and add this to the water along with the bouquet garni. So I hope those who are watching remember what we put in this bouquet garni and the reason why we've done it like
rosemary,
this.
some marjoram and some thyme, chef, in there.
Lovely.
Okay, so I'm going to give this a quick wash.
Thank you. And whilst Darren is doing that, I just want to show you a little bit of preparation with the potato. This potato is a jacket potato. Where did you get these ones from, Darren?
These come through our main supplier, through Hilton again. So it's a case of, we know the quality of the product, we know the price, so I can justifiably use that product in a massive amount of ways. I mean, one of our major uses for those jacket potatoes, other than jacket potato of course, would be to make a soup, would be to make chips, hand-cut chips, hand-cut wedges.
Okay, chef, thanks very much.
No
Well, what I've done here, I've just squared off this potato. Now, I'm going to use it for two different reasons. One is to garnish the soup, and secondly, I'm using the trimmings to make my leek and potato soup tomorrow. So these trimmings will go into here, kept in water, and then we make that soup as we go through it.
So
later.
it's that there's no waste. We're not
wasting anything
We're not
here.
just trimming up a potato for the sake of trimming it up, just to make it square and all fancy.
And what we're saying is we could put any shape into this soup, but we're just looking at little techniques of getting uniformity, cutting things carefully, not being random with the way we use a knife and causing accidents. So what stage would we use this in the soup then, Darren? This potato, how do we do it? Would we cook it in the soup or would we cook this separately?
No, chef. I mean, when we're going to put the garnish in, you've got two options. You can cook it out of the soup and add it in just to finish, or you can add it in right at the end of the soup's just ready, just to finish off in the soup, so it adds the flavour into our garnish, rather than it just being that, okay, there's potato in there that just tastes like potato. It's going to have that nice, rich leek and creamy flavour that goes into it.
Well, you've got to have the balance, haven't you?
Totally.
So, again, all trimmings into there. They're going to go into water, and we're going to use that tomorrow.
And that's it. I think sometimes, chef, one of the things in the world and that's been overly done on the television is how food looks.
Yeah.
Yes, that is very true. The food needs to look very appealing on the plate, but then
for water as well. Thank you.
It has to taste like it's meant to.
Yeah.
If your leek and potato soup doesn't taste like leek and potatoes, it doesn't matter how good it looks and what we do with it. It's not going to be a nice leek and potato soup.
Exactly.
So,
we got any more questions?
No more questions yet? I don't think so. I think it's still Hannah saying hello to us.
I think it's still hello. Yeah.
So
okay.
I'd just like to pan down onto the stove if possible over here. And what we're going to talk about here is, as we see, the vegetables that Richard prepped earlier on today. So we've got our leeks, our celery, our carrot and our bouquet garni. We've got a pan with cold water. And what we're going to do is we're going to add these in. So all the vegetables go in, working nice and clean and tidily. We add our bouquet garni. Then we're going to put that on. What do we don't want to boil it too much, do we, Chef?
What we want to do is just to bring it up to a light boil and then turn it down and let it simmer. Why don't we boil it away?
Well, because the stock is the liquid that we want.
Exactly.
The vegetables will become a waste product afterwards because we've taken all of that flavour out. So that's going to simmer nicely on there. This we're going to use tomorrow, which is going to give us all our flavour for our soup. So, I mean, as far as today goes, I think we're about where we need to be. There's a couple of other little jobs we're going to show you. Some quite simple dicing and how to chop an onion properly. And then while Richard's doing that, I'm going to show you how to segment an orange and segment a lemon. So while Richard's chopping his onion and getting all his onion prepared, I'm just going to set up a little board. As you spoke about earlier, Chef, we use a green board for our fruits. So again, cross-contamination. We don't want to have onion-flavoured fruits. We don't want raw fish on our fruits because these are all things that could, one, impact the flavour, but two, also, they could affect the health of people because we're putting raw fish on something that we're not going to cook, which is, we don't want to do that.
So Chef, I mean, obviously I'm still using this same board, but I'm not contaminating it against anything else, am I?
No, because all you're using is vegetables, is that raw vegetable.
Exactly.
And it's all the same process. And then also, all of that vegetable is going to be cooked. So, as you can see over here now, I've just set myself up a little green board for the fruit. And we have simple orange and a simple lemon. A segment, is that another one of those key words, Chef, that we talked about?
I like to think people have heard the word segment.
Yeah. So within here, there are the little segments of lemon that take away what's called the pith, which is just that nasty white section that's quite bitter. And what we're going to do is, when you watch myself and Richard cook and prepare, you'll see our fingers out of the way, although the blue plaster says otherwise. Fingers are out of the way, knuckles are forward, and that's as a guide. So I'm going to move my oil so you can see this. So there is a guide, so my fingers are using it so it doesn't cut me. Same process with the lemon. We're going to take the top off it, we're going to take the bottom off, just so we can get rid of that nasty white bit, and that's the pith. That's that nasty white bit that doesn't really taste very nice. And if you look in there, you can see the white lines, which is the segments. What I'm going to do is nice and gently, I'm just going to roll my knife around.
And I use a term when you're doing that, Darren, I say you follow the contours, meaning you don't just chop down straight and leave half the lemon on the pith.
That's it, yeah. We're trying to take as little of the lemon as possible, but with removing all of that white pith and the zest. You can use the zest because the zest has got a lot of flavour. And then when I lift this up, I should hope that there's no white left on it. As you can see, still a little bit, Chef, so we just trim that off.
Lovely.
So we don't want that on there. Just nice and gently. So which will leave us a nice little section. So I'm going to get our little waste bin there, Chef, if I can borrow that for a moment.
Certainly.
Again, it's only vegetable waste, it all goes in together. This will be the recycled waste. Keeps our section nice and clean. Now we're left with the lemon. Just all the segments, we can see the individual lines. What I'm going to do is gently, and this is the dangerous part, is cut just down in between those white lines, which will then will take out these lovely little segments. I'm going to show you that. So as you can see on the end of the knife there, there's a little lemon segments. And this is predominantly for garnish, wouldn't you say, Chef?
It just looks the part as opposed to a wedge of lemon stuck somewhere. It's time consuming, but it looks...
But it's justified.
It looks good.
Yeah. So what sort of thing would you use these little lemon segments in?
These could be used for various fish dishes. And I personally, I like caramelising the lemon.
Yeah.
Like,
and how would you do that? What is caramelising?
Caramelising in terms of putting them into a little bit of sugar water, glazing them, and I could also dry them out as well.
Yeah. And again, these are all processes that we would use and we would train our staff to use. So, and that's the whole principle of segmenting. And now I'm going to let you back to Richard.
Yep. Well, I've got an onion here now. Since I've peeled this onion, I can see in here the quality of this onion is not fantastic, and these are the kind of things that we've got to discard when we're working with these things. So I'm going to take some more peeling off of here.
Yeah, I'm just following the same process I did with the lemon with this orange, chef. So
and you can see where this one's just started to discolour again. So if I can have that in
of course,
there, please, chef. There's no point in putting in something that's going to have a discoloration, looking incorrect when you're doing a fine dice. So
what is a fine dice, chef?
Well, fine dice is using your knife to a degree of concentration. It's one of the things we learned when we were first starting in the kitchen. It is for your knife skills.
Very much
just
so.
to see how confident you are. Now, if we talk about chopping an onion and people just go chop, 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 and there is a finer way of doing it. So the first thing, obviously, we must have is a decent knife to do it there. And then, again, as you're saying, we're tucking your fingers in.
Tucking those
Good
fingers
reason
in,
for that, Darren, yeah?
Yeah, very much so. The last thing you want to do is spend most of your time in the kitchen with cut knuckles, cut fingers.
Taking the tip of the knife almost to the end there, not cutting right the way through, it's holding that onion together.
Yeah, and would you leave the root in the far end to hold that together as well?
No, I remove the root at the back.
Yeah.
Just at one stage further on, where I've held it, but I've left a little bit in there, Darren.
Yeah. I'm just going to come over to our stock there, Richard, just to knock it down now. We've come up to that simmer.
Lovely.
So,
and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this now into 3 layers. So very gently with a sawing action, I'm holding the onion together. 1.
Again, do you go almost to the far end and not all the way through?
Yeah. And this is where you have to think about, I've got a knife in my hand, let's be sensible.
Yeah.
Where it's hard to keep your fingers tucked in at this stage. But the idea is we're holding this onion as best together as possible. And the idea is then holding it firm, we just slice through. Okay. And we've got a nice...
It's a nice small even dice. And again, coming back to what you were making earlier for the stock, we had a very rough, rustic dice for the mirepoix.
So what would we use this kind of thing for then, Darren?
This for me would go in a lovely finish of a sauce. So if I was making a nice little onion and Madeira sauce to go with some sausages and that sort of thing, again, I can leave it in. It's going to be a lovely finished product rather than having to take it back out.
You know what, chef? I wouldn't take it right to the end there. For one thing, it will start breaking up.
Yep. And it's dangerous as well.
It's dangerous, but it's still going to go into some good use somewhere else.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay, chef. So, are you happy with that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
And you can go even finer if you wish to.
Yeah.
But I think this is going to really tie us in for what we want to do for today.
Yeah.
As I said, just to conclude, we've gone through a few basics of what we do as chefs in Hilton, a rough guide on our do's and don'ts, and we're going to show you a finalised dish tomorrow using some of the preparation we've just shown you, and we're going to go for questions and answers, Darren, are we?
Yeah, I mean, if someone has some questions or if they want to bring anything while we're processing, either now or tomorrow morning, we're more than welcome to answer those questions.
I mean, we're here totally to encourage people into the industry for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's it. We want people to come in and have the same joy of this job that we do.
And I think I can say myself, and I think I can say it for you as well, we've both still got very much a passion for cooking.
Yeah, I mean, between us, what have we got? 60 years in the kitchen now between us?
At least.
So,
at least. And as I say, we're still learning.
Every day.
And there's more to learn.
Okay, and I think that's the key phrase for today is we're still learning. There's still a lot to learn, and also there's a lot to teach. So I'd like to say thank you for your time today, Richard. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Darren.
And we'll speak to you tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
How was that for Simon?